If you've ever watched Naruto, you know Kurama the nine-tailed fox sealed inside the main character, a being of pure chakra and rage that nearly destroyed the Hidden Leaf village. But here's what most fans don't realize. Kurama isn't just anime fantasy. The nine-tailed fox is based on a real Japanese legend that's over 1,000 years old, and the actual mythology is even more fascinating than what you see in the show. Today, we're diving deep into the real folklore behind Kurama. We're talking about Kitsune Japanese fox spirits that gain power and intelligence over centuries, earning one tail for every 100 years they survive. By the time a fox reaches 9 tails, it's no longer just an animal, it's a god. We'll explore what Naruto got right, what it changed, why the creator chose the name Kurama, and how this ancient legend shaped one of anime's most iconic characters. And if you're a Naruto fan who's never explored Japanese mythology, you're about to discover that the real stories are just as epic as the anime. Let's begin. In Japanese folklore, Kitsune are not ordinary foxes. They are yakai supernatural beings that exist between the mortal world and the spirit realm. The word Kitsune literally means fox, but in mythology, it refers specifically to magical foxes that possess intelligence, shape-shifting abilities, and spiritual power that grows over time. The most important thing to understand about Kitsune is this: they age differently than humans or animals. A Kitsune can live for centuries, even millennia. And as they age, they don't just get older, they get more powerful. For every 100 years a Kitsune survives, it grows an additional tail. A young Kitsune might have only one tail. A middle-aged Kitsune might have 3 or 5. But a Kitsune that has lived for 900 years, that creature has 9 tails, and at that point, it has transcended normal existence. It becomes what's called a kyuubi, no Kitsune, a 9-tailed fox, and its power rivals that of gods. These 9-tailed foxes can do things that younger Kitsune cannot. They can see the past and the future. They can create illusions so powerful that entire armies can be deceived. They can shapeshift so perfectly that even the wisest humans cannot detect them. Some legends say that 9-tailed Kitsune can manipulate fire, control minds, and even achieve immortality. In some versions of the myth, a 9-tailed Kitsune that reaches this level of power ascends to become a Kamiya Shinto deity and joins the celestial realms. But here's where it gets complicated. Not all Kitsune are good. In Japanese mythology, Kitsune are divided into 2 categories. There are Zenko, which are good or benevolent foxes, and there are Yako or Najitsune, which are wild or malicious foxes. Zenko serve Inari, the Shinto god of rice, fertility, and prosperity. They act as messengers, protectors of shrines, and guardians of the natural order. Yako, on the other hand, are tricksters and sometimes outright malevolent. They possess humans, create chaos, seduce travelers, and cause mischief or harm for their own amusement or survival. The 9-tailed fox can be either. It all depends on the path the Kitsune chose during its long life. A 9-tailed Zenko is a divine protector, wise and benevolent. A 9-tailed Yako, that's a creature of destruction, manipulation, and wrath. And this duality, this idea that immense power can be used for good or evil, is central to Kurama's character in Naruto. So where does the name Kurama come from? Why did Masashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, choose that specific name for the 9-tailed fox? The answer lies in a real place just outside Kyoto, Japan. Mount Kurama is an actual mountain, and it's one of the most spiritually significant locations in Japanese history. For over 1,000 years, Mount Kurama has been associated with spiritual power, mysticism, and the supernatural. It's home to Kurama-dera, an ancient Buddhist temple founded in the 8th century. But more importantly, Mount Kurama is said to be the dwelling place of Sajobo, the king of the Tengu, a race of powerful yokai that are part bird, part warrior, and part divine being. But there's another reason Mount Kurama is famous. It's where Reiki was discovered. In the early 20th century, a Buddhist monk named Mikao Yuzui went to Mount Kurama to meditate and fast for 21 days. At the end of his meditation, he claimed to have received a spiritual revelation that allowed him to channel healing energy through his hands. This became the foundation of Reiki, a practice that millions of people around the world use today for spiritual healing. So Mount Kurama is not just a random mountain, it's a place where spiritual energy is believed to be incredibly concentrated. Kishimoto named the nine-tailed fox Kurama because he wanted to connect this creature to that same spiritual energy, that same ancient power. And it's not just the name. In Naruto, Kurama's chakra has healing properties. When Naruto is injured, Kurama's chakra accelerates his recovery. This mirrors the real-world association between Mount Kurama and healing energy. Kishimoto did his research, and he embedded real Japanese spirituality into his story. But let's talk about what Naruto got right and what it changed. First, what Naruto got right. The idea that the nine-tailed fox is ancient, powerful, and tied to natural forces is completely accurate. In Japanese mythology, a nine-tailed kitsune is one of the most powerful beings in existence, capable of rivaling gods. Naruto's depiction of Kurama as a creature of immense chakra, essentially spiritual energy, is spot on. Kitsune are fundamentally spiritual beings, and their power comes from their connection to nature and the spirit world. Naruto also got right the idea that Kurama is intelligent and capable of communication. In folklore, nine-tailed kitsune are not mindless beasts. They are wise, cunning, and often more intelligent than humans. Kurama's character arc in Naruto, where he starts as a force of pure rage, but eventually becomes Naruto's ally and friend, reflects the kitsune's dual nature. A nine-tailed fox can be destructive, yes, but it can also be noble, protective, and wise. But here's what Naruto changed. In the original mythology, Kitsune are not inherently destructive monsters that need to be sealed away. In fact, most nine-tailed Kitsune in Japanese folklore are either protectors or tricksters, not apocalyptic threats. The image of the nine-tailed fox as a rampaging beast that destroys villages is more influenced by Chinese mythology, specifically the legend of Daji, a nine-tailed fox spirit who possessed a concubine and nearly destroyed an empire. Japanese kitsune are usually more subtle. They seduce, deceive, and manipulate rather than rampage. Kishimoto also invented the concept of tailed beasts and Jinchuriki, the idea that these creatures are made of pure chakra and can be sealed inside human hosts. This is original to Naruto. In real mythology, kitsune cannot be sealed inside humans in this way. They can possess people, yes, but that's different. Possession means the kitsune takes control of a person's body. In Naruto, the tailed beast remains separate, coexisting with the host. That's a brilliant narrative invention, but it's not from folklore. And here's a fun fact. In Kishimoto's original concept for Naruto, the main character wasn't a human with a fox sealed inside him. Naruto was going to be a kitsune in human form. Early sketches show Naruto with more fox-like features, and the story was going to revolve around a fox spirit trying to fit into human society. Kishimoto eventually changed this, but he kept the whiskers on Naruto's face and the connection to the nine-tailed fox as a tribute to that original idea. So in a way, Naruto's bond with Kurama isn't just symbolic, it's built into the very foundation of the character's creation. Now let's compare the Japanese kitsune to its cousins in other Asian cultures, because the nine-tailed fox appears in Korean and Chinese mythology too, and they're all different. The Korean version is called the Gyumiho, And unlike the Japanese Kitsune, the Gumiho is almost always evil. In Korean folklore, the Gumiho is a fox that transforms into a beautiful woman to seduce men and then eats their hearts or livers to sustain its power. The Gumiho is feared, not revered. It's a creature of lust, hunger, and death. While a Kitsune can be good or evil, the Gumiho is almost exclusively malicious. The Chinese version is called the Jing, and it sits somewhere between the Japanese and Korean interpretations. In Chinese mythology, the Jing can be good or evil, but it's most famous for its association with temptation and political manipulation. The story of Daji, the nine-tailed fox who seduced a king and caused the downfall of an entire dynasty, is one of the most famous Chinese legends. But unlike the Korean Gumiho, the Jing can also achieve enlightenment and ascend to become a celestial being, much like the Japanese Kitsune. So if we compare them, the Japanese Kitsune is the most balanced, capable of great good or great evil, depending on its choices. The Korean Gumiho is the most dangerous predator that cannot be trusted. The Chinese Jing is the most ambitious, constantly seeking power, immortality, or divine status. Kurama in Naruto is closest to the Japanese Kitsune. His arc reflects the idea that a nine-tailed fox can choose its path. He starts as a force of destruction, but through his bond with Naruto, he becomes a protector and a friend. That's the heart of the Kitsune legend. Power without wisdom is destruction, but power with wisdom becomes something greater. And that's why Kurama resonates so deeply with audiences. He's not just a monster sealed inside the hero. He's a being with a 1,000-year lifespan who has seen empires rise and fall, who has experienced betrayal, isolation, and rage, and who ultimately learns what it means to trust and protect someone. That's the soul of Kitsune mythology, the idea that even the most powerful beings are shaped by their experiences and their choices. So here's the final takeaway. Kurama is not just a cool power-up for Naruto. He's a character rooted in real mythology, real spiritual beliefs, and real cultural history. The nine-tailed fox has been part of Japanese storytelling for over 1,000 years, appearing in folklore, literature, theater, and now anime. Kishimoto took that ancient legend and gave it new life, creating one of the most memorable and emotionally complex characters in all of anime. If you want to dive deeper into the mythology of fox spirits, we actually have a full video comparing the Japanese Kitsune to the Korean Gumiho and the Chinese Jing, breaking down their differences, their powers, and which one is the most dangerous. Check that out if you want to see how these legends evolved across Asia. And if you loved learning the real mythology behind Naruto, subscribe, because we're breaking down the legends behind all your favorite anime. From yokai to gods to legendary warriors, we're exploring where these stories come from and what they really mean. So tell me in the comments, did you know Kurama was based on real mythology? And which version of the nine-tailed fox do you think is the most powerful, the Japanese Kitsune, the Korean Gumiho, or the Chinese Jing? Let me know. And thanks for watching.